you think of a team working together and pulling the same direction, right? There's the story of the Clydesdale. Kim, do you know how much one Clydesdale can pull?
Welcome to the Kickass Couples Podcast. This is the place where we help committed couples who want to level up their marriage experience newfound clarity, hope, and confidence. We're Matthew and Kim, co-hosts and husband and wife.
In 26 years together, we've seen a lot and never thought it could be as good as it is right now. We're here to help you successfully navigate the messy, dirty, and wonderful world of marriage.
We believe all couples deserve and are capable of experiencing an extraordinary and fulfilling marriage. And each week, we're bringing you life lessons from real-life successful couples to help you grow and strengthen your relationship.
We'll get started right after this message. If you want to learn how to experience the best, most fulfilling year of your marriage, we invite you to order Matthew's new book, Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex. You can get it at Amazon.com or visit Matthew's website, www.matthewphoffman.com. Again, that's Amazon.com or www.matthewphoffman.com. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Kickass Couples Podcast. We are excited to be with you again today in Phoenix on a beautiful sunshiny day. Still cool outside, a little deceptive, but we are going to dive into the pillar of unity today. If this is your first time listening to the Kickass Couples Podcast, we have 14 pillars, which represent qualities that we think are essential to any successful relationship. And about every 4 or 5 episodes, we dive into one of these pillars and talk about it and want to really give you the key concepts in hope that you are learning and practicing those things in your own number one relationship. So Kim, I want to start off with a little quote from J.K. Rowling. And she says, "We are only as strong as we are united, as weak as we are divided." And I thought that was a good...
Yeah, it's a great way to...
a
great segue into our pillar of unity. You know, I really love these special episodes because it really does give us a chance to dive in and go a little bit deeper on each pillar. And I love the pillar unity. I think it's one of my favorites. And it didn't start out that way, but the more research and the more that I've learned and the more couples we have actually interviewed, the more I see how important and how special it really is in a relationship.
So is it your favorite because you think it's critical? Tell me why it's your favorite.
It's my favorite because it's essential to really having a deep, connected, intimate relationship.
I agree. And I want to kind of dissuade people of the fallacy or the rumor or the false statement. People are not unified when they're living parallel lives, meaning two lines that are just kind of going their own way.
Yeah, every once in a while.
And every once in a while they intersect. So if you're cruising through life and there's not a lot of intersection with you and your spouse, your partner, the person that you've said, I want to spend the rest of my life with, that is not unity. You know, seeing couples where the husband does everything he wants, the wife does everything she wants, and they just give each other their space. They're out with their friends and doing their own thing. You know, some of that is certainly healthy in a relationship, but that is not nirvana, and that is not ideal, and that is certainly not unified. So Kim, in your own, if you had to define unity, how would you do it? Like, what would you say to someone who says, "What do you mean unity in a relationship?" What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it means that we're always going to come at everything with a united front. So not that we have to agree on everything. I'm not saying that at all, right. But I am saying that we're going to approach everything in a unified way, in a way that we, to our children, to our family, to our friends, come across as being unified.
I think that's great. And I would maybe add to that a little bit. It is a oneness of sentiment. It doesn't mean that you're identical and that you are perfectly alike one another, but it means that there's uniformity of thought, their doctrine. And the biggest thing that you talked about in other years, undivided, right? It doesn't mean that if my partner, Kim and I don't agree on everything, and it's not about agreeing on everything. However, me understanding what she believes or her position on something and supporting it. not belittling her because I disagree with it, or tearing her down, or saying to the kids, well, mom thinks this, but I think that, right? Or to friends, well, Kim believes this, but I don't agree with that at all. That is not unity. So you can have differing beliefs, different interpretations, different understanding of something. We're entitled to that, but we're going to support each other no matter what our beliefs, systems, or feelings are on any particular issue.
Yeah, we're going to understand it first, and then we're going to stand behind them, and we're going to support it.
So let's go a little bit deeper into that, Kim. What does unity look like, and what gets in the way of couples demonstrating it solidly? If you think about our own relationship or other couples, what do you think gets in the way of really having that unified front on life as we go through it together?
Well, I think some of the things that we just talked about, really, family. I think that we allow family to kind of sneak in and divide us up a little bit. Our kids certainly, from little on, are going to try to divide us and go to you for something that maybe I've already told them they're not allowed or supposed to do. So I feel like our kids do that. And, work can certainly get in the way of keeping us together. And there are just sometimes life circumstances come up, right? And when we get those curveballs thrown at us, sometimes it can cause us to go in different directions.
Yeah, I think another one of our pillars, which is one of our 3 C's, is the second one, communication. And being unified, or demonstrating unity in a relationship, communication is such a critical role in that. And it's not just communication about big issues. That's certainly important, life stages and issues and what are we going to do about something, but it's the little touch points throughout the day. It could be texting, it could be notes, it could be voicemails, and really continuing to connect with your partner and making sure that you're on the same page. It could be hey, you and I do this all the time. Just want to let you know this happened, or this is where this stands, or you asked me about that. So it's a little bit of sharing strategic information, certainly, but really more importantly, it's about having connecting conversations, touching those emotional centers, or maybe a topic that's highly charged. You and I had a conversation recently, a great catch up the other night about aging parents, and, making sure that you understand how to best approach it. You're talking to your spouses because we want to love and support your parents. And I want to do the same thing for my parents. But as they age, other challenges come up, and really talking about how are we going to best approach that so it doesn't become an issue in our relationship, most importantly. But then secondarily, how do we love them the way they need to be loved? And so that we can communicate and have a united front there.
Yeah, like you said, it's really about communicating those challenges so that we can be unified in how we're going to move forward with them. So Matthew, tell me, what are some ways that we can really build a strong, unified relationship?
I think it's important to have the culture of unity, right? You hear about company cultures, but there's definitely family cultures. And I think that you and I have done a great job. We've worked very hard to have a culture of unity in our relationship, in our family. That means we're not independent contractors shooting off, doing our own things. But, one of our kids came to me and asked me if they could do something. And they said, I talked to mom and then she told me to talk to you. And I thought, okay, I know how Kim probably responded to this, and I'm going to have a unified front here and say, I bet mom felt this and I feel that too. And we have the same position. So I think the culture is important. So it's okay to talk about it and have conversations where you're seeking understanding. But I love the concept of Team You, or we have Team Hoffman, right? You and I are a team, and our family is a team. We're all players in that team. We all have different roles. So I think creating that team approach on anything, and it's I've got your back if you need support. I know that you've got mine unequivocally. Or if a challenge faces up for the family or something comes up, we talk about what we're going to do.
I love that, because a team, when you think about a team, the concept of a team, you think about, the team practices together, right? The team works together, they plan together, they play together, and they win and lose together. And so when you're looking at your relationship as a team, you're going to go through all those different facets of what a team actually does. All the while, you're going to stay together. You're going to stay committed to the team.
And I think it's important in that team that you have good communication about roles and responsibilities. because everybody doesn't need to do everything. And one person certainly doesn't need to do everything. So it's getting agreement on how are we going to approach this? Are you going to take the lead? Am I taking the lead? Is this totally your baby and you just want me to listen to your concerns about what's going forward, right? Because it's really yours to handle. So if you communicate roles and responsibilities, then there's no disappointment, there's no letdown, and there's no anger or frustration because your partner's not doing what you think they're supposed to do. So you got to make sure you get agreement on that, right? And who's got the ball, who's doing what, and how are we going to work together to get there? So you can avoid those disappointments and those angry conversations and frustration when you both agree on kind of contracting, right? Like who's going to do what and how are we going to get through this?
What about really supporting each other, cheering each other on, giving each other affirmations? We all have our own hopes and dreams, right?
No doubt.
And we all aspire to do things individually as well as collectively. And how do you feel about, really that support and that ongoing just sort of cheering each other on?
Oh, we got to be cheerleaders. I mean, you know that I'm your number one fan, and you got to feel it. You can't just say it, right? Words are fantastic, but action, really putting the rubber hit the road. And I love the whole idea, Kim, of capable belief. You and I talk about that a lot with couples. I think every individual and every couple has the ability to demonstrate and be kick-ass. And if we're talking about unity, then they've got the ability to do it. And it's just kind of laying on those steps out about what it looks like, I mean, I think something else, Kim, what else do you think? We have weekly family opportunities to be together, not just you and I in our relationship. We do the date nights and those kind of things. So we have our own time. But I think kind of, what do you think about family activities, and how does a family activity strengthen the unity of the couple, of the two partners?
Yeah, I think that it's really important that we not only do things as a couple, but that we do things with our family, that we take trips together as a family, that maybe we go on bike rides together. That family unity is just as important as the couple unity that we have. I think that it's also important that we establish fun traditions with our family as well. And you and I have our own little kind of quirkiness, funky things. We've been together so long that I can look at you a certain way and you'll know what I'm thinking, right? Or know what I'm maybe about to say. Maybe we have this, fun little thing just between the two of us that only each of us understand. And so I think those fun things really build unity as well.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to be a little wacky. I think that, one of the things I remember as a child growing up, my parents and my sister, my parents would go family kiss, and everybody came in lips and cheeks together. And it was a big mwah, big family, and we laughed. And the older we got, we thought, really, we got to still,
so corny.
We got to still do this, but we still did. And here I am, 50 some odd years later, talking about it. So I think really having those things that you can laugh about, keep it light, but also create the memories together.
Sure.
Because it's really all about partnership, isn't it, Kim? And the desire to have it and be in it with let's talk a little bit about partnerships, because this is your lifetime partnership. I mean, you have business partnerships, you have people you work with, maybe at church, maybe you're a volunteer, right? But this partnership is huge because it's about, we have feelings for each other and we have emotions, and we're really deeply tied up in those things together. But it's not just words, it's the active, we talked about this earlier, it's the active demonstration of those. And I think that's a huge difference. And that's really what bonds us and helps us maintain that unity with each other.
Yeah. We are constantly really looking to help each other, to motivate each other, to care for each other. All throughout the day, we're looking for opportunities to do that. And I know that some of you that are listening may say, oh my gosh, that sounds like a lot. But it really is, once it becomes a habit, it really is easy, and it's a way to connect with each other.
Yeah, it's almost like a competition where you're thinking about, where's the next opportunity for me to connect or bless or love or support my partner. And when you're looking for that and your partner is looking for that, you're unified in your approach to prioritizing your partner above
Over everything
yourself.
else.
And
Yeah.
that's where the magic, I think, really starts to happen. You kind of see that synergy in your relationship. And I think, Kim, synergy is huge. And, people talk about synergy and the synergistic effect and, are we working together? But, you've heard the old adage, right? The whole is greater than the parts. And that's not just a happy coincidence. We've shared this kind of analogy before, but if you think of a team working together and pulling the same direction, right? There's the story of the Clydesdale. Kim, do you know how much one Clydesdale can pull? Do you remember?
Tell me.
2 tons. So
I
2
know.
Clydesdales could probably pull 2 + 2, 4 tons, right?
Yeah, I heard it's a lot more than that, though.
It is. When they work together, they can pull 10 tons.
It's incredible what
so
you
it's
can
5
do.
times as much as they can do individually. And guys, it is no different in your relationship. You can only do so much of yourself, and you can burn yourself out trying to do more. It's not about you doing more and more and more and giving and losing yourself. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the synergy that occurs when you're pulling in the same direction means you can magnify your impact by 5
and climbing
times.
hurdles together, right? You're not alone. You have my support. I have your back. That kind of support and love for each other goes so far.
When it comes to creating a kick-ass marriage, do you ever wonder what you could be doing better? Have you ever thought how helpful it would be to be a part of a like-minded community of other imperfect couples who want to level up in their number one relationship? Come visit Kickass Couples Nation, where you can talk with people just like you who are looking for ways to invest in and increase their joy, commitment, and fulfillment in their most important human relationship. You'll have access to a team of licensed marriage therapists, coaches, articles, podcasts, live webinars, and more. Just visit MatthewPHoffman.com so you can learn more about a community that's ready to help you level up. That's MatthewPHoffman.com so you can become of the growing Kick-Ass Couples Nation right now.
So if people want to start working, Kim, on ways to create more relationship unity, what's something that you could share that they should start doing or focusing on or thinking more about?
I think that one of the things that we get caught up in relationships is feeling like one person may be taking on more or doing more than the other person. And so I feel like really having a good understanding of what the division of the work is, what the expectations are. And again, that just rolls right back to where? Communication, right? So being able to have good communication and then also being able to divide up those roles and really have a good understanding what those roles or what that work might look like is important.
It is. That's huge. And I think too, that even though we each have our roles and responsibilities, Kim's talking about who's going to do what, right? And understanding so stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. If you are the one always doing a certain thing in your relationship, that can get tiring. And you can get bored with it. And sometimes you feel like, why am I the one, right, who's always creating date time? Why am I the one that's planning every date that we're doing?
Point.
And so you need to take turns or have rotation in office, right? And that's something that should be fun and volunteering because it's nice, even though you normally might take on something, think about those roles and responsibilities. And what's one thing that you could take on for your partner and say, hey, you know what? I know normally you do this on this day or this week, or you think you're going to do this. I've got it.
Yeah.
Take a break and let me take control. And I'd love to do that for you. That's a gift you can give to your partner. It keeps them fresh and it keeps you fresh. So I think it's a good thing to do.
I really fell into that trap myself of letting you be the one always figuring out where we were going to go, what we were going to do on a date night. And I don't know why it never really occurred to me that I just sort of let you take the lead on that, but that I should have a role in that as well. And so I was guilty of that for a very long time. And it wasn't until I started planning those dates and I could see how much you appreciated it and how much joy that it really brought you that I said, hey, on Tuesday night, don't make any plans. I made some plans for us to have a fun night together. And you would just light up and be so excited. And so I think it's easy for us to fall in those traps of taking on a responsibility and then the other partner just assuming that's always going to be done by that person.
Yeah. And Kim, I think I agree with you. And I'm grateful for that demonstration. That change in our relationship was a positive one. And I think a really important thing is when we're approaching what's right to do, what should we do? I think the filter, the focus that everybody needs to be looking through is it right for us? Meaning, is it right for the relationship? Because if it's right for me and it's not right for her, guess what? Not right for us. If Kim feels really strongly about it, hey, it's right for me, but it's not right for me, that means it's not right for us. Before you're married, it's I and you. But once you're married, it's us. So all your decisions that you think about, you have to put it through the filter of us. If it's a win for the relationship, it's a win for us, then it's a good thing. And it's got to be win-win or no deal. You can't be willing to say, well, they'll understand, or they might get angry, but they'll get over it. That's just taking a huge withdrawal out of your relationship bank account, your trust, your security, your respect, your unity. And do you really want to damage the unity you have with your spouse by forcing something that's not good for them and great for the relationship? So a kind of a fun, I wouldn't say it's a test, but I always like to ask people, do you feel comfortable answering for your partner or your spouse on something? Like, hey, would you guys like to? Nothing wrong if it's something really big or something crazy, maybe doing that. But I feel pretty confident that I could answer in most situations for my wife because I know her well enough and I know what's important and not important to her. If it was something new or kind of crazy, I might ask her opinion on it and not just make that assumption. But are you comfortable answering for your spouse so that you know them well enough that you can have their best interest at heart and they trust you with that openly? I think that's a good test to see how unified you might be in your relationship.
I like that.
So, Kim, what behaviors do the most damage? I think we've got a little list here of things. And what's one thing that you think does damage in hurting a relationship and really kind of decimating the idea of unity?
I think that probably the biggest for me is when we don't prioritize each other, when we put other things first, such as work, which can get in the way a lot for probably most families. And I think family can get in the way as well. When you have young kids and you've got 3 of them and they're all, say under the age of 12, it's a full-time job. And I think that can get in the way of us prioritizing our spouse. So I think we have to be really careful and we have to be really intentional about making sure that our partner comes first.
And that's above everything else. And, the only I would say, Kim and I say our priorities in our relationship, God first.
Yes.
This relationship is second, then family and everybody else. And it doesn't mean there aren't emergencies or seasons where that could change, but typically those are the priorities. And I agree with you.
What are some others?
I think refusal to accept influence. That means you know better, you know right. How could they possibly have the right idea on something? But the successful accepting of influence, and accepting influence means valuing their opinion as highly as you value your own and being willing to follow their counsel and advice. And that's one of the biggest indicators of success in relationships and controversy. And then contrarily, one of the biggest predictors of divorce is when a couple cannot accept influence from their partner. So if you're not willing to follow their lead, accept their influence, their suggestions, their support, that's a scary sign that maybe you've got an opportunity to work on something. So
sure.
What about another one, Kim?
I think really leaning into your partner, turning towards your partner whenever they're kind of putting a bid out there for your attention. There'll be times when we'll be busy. Maybe you'll be on your computer, maybe you'll be on your phone, and your partner's trying to get your attention, making a bid for connection, and you keep on doing what you're doing rather than put the distractions away and really lean into that moment where your partner is trying to have a conversation, trying to connect with you.
Yeah, leaning in is huge. I would agree with that. And I think willingness to make course corrections. Sometimes you make a decision and you get agreement and say, hey, we're marching in this direction, but it's not working. Or the result that you thought you're going to get doesn't have. Or maybe you just don't feel comfortable with that decision. So a willingness, and sometimes it's, you know what, I was wrong, right? God, I thought this was the thing to do, but I don't feel good about it. You've come to me recently with stuff and said, hey, I know you said you want to do it this way, but it's been on my heart. I don't feel good about it. And here's why. And so we make a course correction because I got to listen to her concerns. They're valid and they're real. And then if we can do something to honor that, that's making a course correction that wins for us.
Right. But I think what you just hit the nail on the head that, I came to you and said, this is something that I really want to talk to you about and that I'm uncomfortable with. I didn't attack you. I didn't come at you. I didn't say, I don't want to do that. That's not that. I'm not good with that. I think the key is, again, really the approach and the way that we're communicating with each other.
Yeah. And you didn't come and say, you're wrong. You screwed up. You made a mistake. So there wasn't accusation. You just said, hey, I've got some concerns and I want to make you aware of them. That check-in, there's that point, there's communication going on.
Exactly.
So, Kim, we have, for everybody, if you're not aware, we have the Kickass Couples Assessment, and we go through every key pillar and talk about the behaviors of what it looks like when it's demonstrated well and kind of what the watch outs are. And I want to kind of toll through that list quickly.
Yeah.
The first one is, that you're demonstrating unity if you have common goals. What's another one?
Visioning together. Maybe you do a vision board, you set goals together, you have meetings on your goals.
Yeah. I think that we talked about some of this already, making mutual decisions like, hey, how should we do this together? Even if you have a feeling of how something should go. Mm-hmm. What else?
Investing in each other, I think, is really important.
Yeah, you're investing. You're making those deposits all the time.
Absolutely. Looking for the opportunities to
having
invest.
A strong marriage identity. And I, think about that. People need to know you're married, you're in love, you're committed to marriage, and that you love the institution and what it represents through the two of you. So having a strong marriage identity, like, why are you together? How do you feel about it? And that you're a champion, not just for your marriage and relationship, but that concept of commitment, unity, and dedication.
I love the vision of modeling unity.
Yeah, that's huge. What about some of the qualities of lack of unity? If you're not demonstrating unity well, this is what it might look like in your relationship.
Untrusting, I think, is a big one. Not trusting your spouse. There's definitely a lack of unity there if you are worrying about what your partner may or may not be doing.
Yeah, I think that's good. Making decisions on your own. If you're an independent contractor, right? You're thinking, well, I got to do what's best for me. Or I know this might cause them some grief, but I'm going to do it anyway and not seek their counsel or input.
I think being in isolation or being a little bit of a loner can definitely have an issue with unity in your relationship.
Yeah, I agree too. Being untrusting, if you don't have a high degree of trust in your relationship, you certainly aren't going to be unified because you're always going to be wondering, second guessing, did they really mean that? Is that what they're going to do? And what if you create these stories up instead of focusing on having that trust no matter what, that they always have your interests, your best interest at heart. So those are some of the things what a lack of unity might look like. And I think we've kind of given everybody a good flavor of that. Kim, what do you think? Was there anything that we're missing or that we didn't cover that we should touch on?
No, I think that we did a pretty good job of talking about unity
and the importance,
and
right?
What it means in a relationship, what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it's work. We're not saying that it's easy. I think any relationship that is going to make it, you've got to have intentionality, you've got to have communication, and you got to have the unity.
No doubt. You want to share that closing quote that we have with them today?
Yes. Where there is unity, there is always victory.
That's a great quote by Publius Syrus, an old Stoic Greek philosopher. And I would agree. You're going to have victory when you're unified. And so thinking about the ways you can strengthen those things and increase your commitment to them is just going to pay you in spades. And it might be difficult, but it is definitely worth it. So we hope you guys have enjoyed this little deep dive on the pillar of unity today. We love talking to you about it. You can see we're passionate about it, and we are striving daily to actively demonstrate a lot of these qualities. And we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We have feet of clay, I always say, but we're better for it. And it is definitely part of the glue that's strengthened our relationship and kept us smiling and strong and in love for almost 29 years. So
thanks for listening in, everyone. And remember, happily ever after doesn't just happen.
It's on purpose.
That's all we've got for this episode of the Kickass Couples Podcast. If you like the content of this show, you'll love Matthew's newly released book, Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex. To receive a digital mini book of quotes and images from the book, all you have to do is rate this show and leave a review in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Then email us a screenshot of your review at podcast@kickasscouplespodcast.com, and we'll get it over to you right away. Until next time, remember, happily ever after doesn't just happen, it's on purpose.